Good evening and welcome to the Manteno Village Board meeting for Monday, March 16th, 2020. I'd like to call the meeting to order, and if we could all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Boyce.
Here.
Martin.
Here.
Dole.
Here.
Crockett.
Here.
Geske.
Here.
Phillips.
Here.
We have a quorum. Tonight, as always, we begin with the approval of the minutes. We have the minutes from the March 2nd, 2020 board meeting, which is included in everyone's packet, and hopefully everyone has had the opportunity to review. Are there any changes, additions, deletions, corrections? Seeing none, I would accept a motion to waive the reading of minutes and approve them as presented by the clerk.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Phillips, second by Dole. Roll call.
Phillips.
Yes.
Dole.
Yes.
Boyce.
Yes.
Martin.
Yes.
Crockett.
Abstain.
Geske.
Abstain.
Motion carries. Public participation, we don't have anyone, see like we have anybody here to address the board. Tonight is probably a good thing. Village President's Report. Just a couple things. 2 weeks ago tonight we had our board meeting. We had Riverside Hospital here talking a little bit about how ways to prevent the spread of the virus and kind of educating us about what was going on. Also, then they also announced about their grand opening for their immediate care center here in Manteno. A lot of things obviously have changed in the last 2 weeks. A lot of things have changed in the last week, in the last day, the last couple hours, with the spread of the virus and the President calling a national emergency. After tonight's meeting and tomorrow's election, this building will be closed. All the bars, restaurants, everything that everyone knows about, there's going to be closed for the foreseeable future. We're living in some pretty unique times, things that none of us have ever experienced. There's an awful lot of questions, and not everybody has all the answers because none of us have gone through anything like this at all. But I think that we have to take all this stuff seriously. All these things that are being done, hopefully they will be successful, and the spread will curtail. I fear that over the course of time, that if all these efforts are successful and the outbreak turns out to not be as bad as what people are predicting, a lot of people will complain and say, well, look, they cried wolf and it didn't turn out that bad. But that's what we want. I think the government, both the federal and the state, and even here the local, we're taking these precautions to try to make sure that the spread is not as severe as what people say it could be. And if we get through this without a lot of issues and problems, I think everybody needs to look at that as a success, as opposed to people going and being overly cautious. I never thought that I'd see the day that the governor would issue orders closing all restaurants and bars and casinos and churches and any place that people gather, but that's what we've come to experience and start going to be living with as of tomorrow. So the government's taking it serious. I hope everybody that's listening to this will take it serious and do whatever can be done in order to try to spread or to try to attack the spread of this thing. Just a few of the things that the village is doing. Starting today, I called the village administrator, Larock, yesterday, and he met with the staff this morning. The village hall will be open, but it will be locked, and all the businesses or all the transactions, anything that's going to be done at the village hall can be done through the drive-up window. We're fortunate we have a drive-up window, and we can use that for any transactions, whether it be building permits or any type of questions or payments or whatever. So the village hall will be open. Staff will be there, but the door will be locked, and you can call there with any questions, or you can conduct any business through the drive-up window. Any calls about the pandemic will be referred to the Kankakee County Health Department, the Illinois Department of Public Health, or the CDC websites. Or if they don't have internet access, if people don't have internet access, we can provide you with hotline phone numbers. all non-essential services such as inspections that are not life safety related, and e-waste pickup after today, I think they made the pickup today, will be postponed for the foreseeable future. The police department is going to limit public interactions as much as possible while not just jeopardizing the safety of the residents. Obviously, the police department will be fully staffed and answering 911 calls, but any other calls for service, reports of any type of property crimes or anything like that, will, if they can be done over the telephone, they're going to be done over the telephone. If an officer is required at a residence, they will respond, but they will be taking certain precautions and maybe not entering certain houses or residences if it's not necessary. Public Works employees will be working. They've been asked to maintain a social, but the new term now, social distancing. That's a new thing that didn't exist, to my knowledge, a week or two ago. Now everybody has to try to stay so many feet apart. Those Public Works will be staggering their breaks and not be all together at one place at one time. And we're also instructing everyone to be washing their hands after every contact with any surface or with any people that they come in contact with. We've been asked about the Easter egg hunt. That's coming up at the beginning of April. We have not made a decision on that yet. Well, figured that we'd get a little farther down the road and see what what is going to take place there. I know that Bourbonnais Township or the Village of Bourbonnais has canceled theirs, and there's a good possibility that we'll be doing the same later this week. But I talked with Sarah today, and since it's a couple weeks out and everything has already been purchased for it, we figured that we can always make that decision later on in the week. But if things continue the way that we anticipate they're going to continue, there's a good chance that that'll be postponed too. But all this information will be put out on the website. The Hassett Center will be closed for the rest of the month after tomorrow's election. Luckily, there was only a couple of events that were scheduled here, but anything that is scheduled for the Hassett Center is going to be canceled, and the Hassett Center will be closed and locked. There was a question about the parks, whether we should be closing the parks. I know the state of Illinois did close their parks. We decided not to do that at this time just because we've got all the children that are going to be off school. If it's nice out, we want to have some place for them to go, but we also keep in mind people that if the parks become crowded, then at some point in time we might have to close them. We decided that right now we're not going to, just because it's difficult to police, and if it's a nice day and people want to take a walk through the park, as long as they're not congregating or they're not close, we felt as though that we could allow them to stay open. But if that turns into a situation where there's a lot of people there and they're congregating in certain areas, that might potentially change as the time goes on. Public meetings, the governor signed an executive order this afternoon that allows us to have meetings without going through the Open Meetings Act and publicizing the meetings 48 hours in advance and open to the public. We don't have another meeting scheduled. I think we have a committee meeting maybe sometime in the next 2 weeks, but the next public board meeting is going to be at its regularly scheduled time. Again, that's a fluid situation unless something changes, but even if the public is not allowed at our meeting for one reason or another, the meetings are all televised and on YouTube, just like tonight's meeting is too. We have a planning commission meeting that's coming up in April, and a decision will be made later on, based on what happens over the course of the next couple of weeks on whether or not that takes place. Again, we ask for the people's cooperation. I know that the grocery stores and some of the gas stations, some of the other stores that carries staples are being heavily trafficked. We ask that people do not go and hoard things, but at the same time get the supplies that they feel as though that they need for their family. I know Burkott's locally has done a great job in limiting some of the purchases, and actually they are looking to hire some people for some of the part-time stocking of shelves and stuff. I know just before this meeting came on, we talked about that they're looking to hire potentially some of the bartenders and waitresses that might be off work because the bars and restaurants are being closed. A little more about the bars and restaurants too, there was a question. They are being closed. However, restaurants can serve food on a delivery basis and on a pickup basis. It's our understanding that they have to lock the front door. If you order food from someplace, that the employee has to bring it out to you, that they won't allow the public into their restaurant. But if you call and order something, they will bring it out to you to pick it up. Drive-up windows at restaurants are going to stay open, and we're assuming that that's how things are going to operate. It's not where you're going to be able to go into the business, order food, stand around there with 5 or 10 other people, and wait for the food to be prepared. I think the whole idea is to try to keep people separated and keep them apart. So it's our understanding that if you do want to order something, and we hope you do, in order to keep the restaurants up and going and let them use up the inventory of food that they've got, that if you call and order it, and that they will bring it out to you at the curb. Other than that, again, these are kind of trying times. We don't know exactly what's going to happen by the hour. We're monitoring with the state of Illinois. We've been in touch with the Illinois Municipal League, who is sending out daily notices to all the different governments to let them know what's happening. This is going to be a huge financial hit, not only for the businesses but for the governments, because of all the businesses that are being shut down. So we're definitely in some unique territory and some unique times, and there's a lot of questions that are being asked that we just don't have the answers for. But bear with us, and anything that we do here or find out, it'll be posted on our website, posted on the Facebook page. If it's necessary to put it on our electronic sign, to do whatever we can do, and we'll see what happens over the course of the next couple of weeks. With that, Village Administrator's report, Mr. LaRock.
I have nothing this evening, Mayor.
Committee reports, Public Works and Utilities, Mr. Boyce.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have one item. A motion to award the bids and authorize the village president and the village clerk to sign the contract documents for the 2020 MFT Street Maintenance Program to Gallagher Asphalt Corporation, Thornton, Illinois, at a cost not to exceed $298,035. That's all I have, and then my next Public Works meeting has been changed to the 31st of this month, 7 a.m. at the Village Hall Conference Room. That's all I got.
Thank you, Mr. Boyce. Properties and Recreation, Mr. Martin.
Thanks. I really don't have anything. Mr. Mayor took care of the parks as far as being still open for a while, or until we figure out what's going on. But we have a change in the first Parks and Recreation Commission meeting. It's going to be on 3/25 at 7 o'clock at the Village Boardroom, subject to future.
Yeah, I mean, there's a possibility that might be canceled, but again, we'll see as another week goes by.
Right, so that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Public Safety and Health, Mrs. Dole.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't have any action items on the agenda tonight. My next public safety meeting will be April 8th with the condition, let's see what's going on, at 7 a.m. at the Village Hall Conference Room. I was going to talk exactly about everything that you pretty much talked about, but you covered it very well, so there's no need for me to repeat it. So, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dole. Planning and Zoning, Mr. Crockett.
Thank you, Mayor. I have one item on the agenda this evening. It's Ordinance 19-37, which is an ordinance granting a variance from Title IX zoning, Chapter 13, signs, Article D1, premises signs, number allowed, and Title IX, Chapter 13, signs, Article number D2, premises signs, maximum area allowed in the C2 zoning district for the property known as 102 South Creek Drive here in Manteno. The National Bank of Manteno is remodeling the building at Division in South Creek for their new bank location and would like to have additional signage beyond the allowed size and number. The Planning Commission held a public hearing on March 10th and is recommending approval of the variances. Our next Planning and Zoning Committee meeting has a change in date also. As of right now, it's scheduled for March 31st, 7 a.m. in the Village Hall Conference Room, subject to change possibly. And the next Planning Commission meeting, as you mentioned, is Tuesday, April the 14th, 6 p.m. here in the Village Boardroom. And that's all I have for this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Crockett. Finance, Mr. Geske.
Thank you, Mayor. I have Resolution 1916, a resolution approving a tax increment facade renovation construction agreement in connection with the property located 21 North Main Street. This is in TIF 1 area, and the property is owned by Russ Jensen. During our last Finance Committee meeting, we saw the proposed changes to his front facade, and I'd like to move that we approve that this evening. I also have payment of bills in the amount of $96,558.77, which includes bills out of TIF Area 1 of $18,157.60. We do not have any bills authorized or paid between board cycle, and our next Finance Committee meeting is scheduled for April 8th at 7 a.m.
Thank you, Mr. Geske. General Government, Mr. Phillips.
I have nothing on the agenda tonight, Mayor.
So the items that we'll be voting on tonight under the consent agenda are as follows. Under old business, we have none. Under new business, we have ordinance 1937, which is an ordinance granting a variance from Title IX zoning, Chapter 13 signs, Article D1 premises signs, number allowed, and Title IX, Chapter 13 signs, Article number D2 premises signs, maximum area allowed in the C2 zoning district for the property known as 102 South Creek Drive in Manteno. We have Resolution 1916, which is a resolution approving a tax increment facade renovation and construction agreement in connection with the tax increment financing Area 1 for Russ Jensen, 21 North Main Street. We have a wording of the motion to award the bid to authorize the village president and the village clerk to sign a contract documents for the 2020 MFT street maintenance program to Gallagher Asphalt Corp. Out of Thornton, Illinois, at a cost of $298,035. And finally, a motion to approve the payment of the bills in the amount of $96,558.77, of which $18,157.60 are TIF 1. Are there any items on the consent agenda that need to be removed? If not, I would accept the motion to take a single roll call vote on the question of passage of the agenda items as read. Motion by Martin, second by Boyce. Roll call.
Martin?
Yes.
Boyce?
Yes.
Dole?
Yes.
Crockett?
Yes.
Geske?
Yes.
Phillips?
Yes,
Motion carries. I accept the motion to approve the by omnibus vote the ordinances, resolutions, motions, and orders contained in the consent agenda as read. Motion by Geske,
Second.
second by Dole. Roll call.
Geske?
Yes.
Dole?
Yes.
Boyce?
Yes.
Martin?
Yes.
Crockett?
Yes.
Phillips?
yes.
Motion carries. Comments tonight? You got anything, Mr. Boyce?
No comments tonight. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Martin?
Well, be careful.
Mrs. Dole?
Get out and vote if you choose. Happy St. Patrick's Day. I assume you'll celebrate on low key and be safe. So, be safe all the time.
Mr. Crockett?
Just a question, are all the voting areas still open as usual?
It is our knowledge that, yes, I mean, they're actually next door here setting up voting machines right now, that the election, the primary election is still on. And, you know, all the different precincts will be open and operational unless something changes between now and 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. But as far as we know, it is still on and still going. I think that's going to be like kind of the last thing that you're going to see happening for quite a, for a period of time.
Oh, and happy St. Patrick's Day to everybody tomorrow also, right?
Yeah.
That was it.
Mr. Geske?
Thank you, Mayor. One thing to kind of note, as we all know, schools are closed down effective today, and they will be closed down through the 30th for certain. There's a lot of kids that rely upon the schools to be fed, and some of the things that we take for basic granted of having a warm meal on table, a lot of kids count upon the schools for that. So they're not going to be getting that over the next 2-week period. So for the people watching, any of the business owners that would like to contribute, or anyone individually like to contribute to the cause within their own community, R.J. Haynes will be the contact person through the Manteno School. His office number is 815-928-7027. Any help would be appreciated, and he will be coordinating that along with the school district. And Mayor, you and I talked a little bit about a couple of small business owners that might be able to reach out to. So
Right, and any of the restaurants or might be closing, and not be opening up even for the curbside service, if they've got food that they can't get rid of and want to get rid of because it's not going to last that long, contact Mr. Haynes or somebody at the village, and we will put you in touch with RJ to try to make sure that everybody gets their meal and that the food doesn't go to waste too. I can contact a couple of the business owners that I know that have been very generous in the past as far as supporting the schools, and some of them are in the food business that you might have extra things to. Anything that we give to them is for sure to stay in our community too. It's going to go to feed the kids here in Manteno and the Manteno area.
We're not alone in this, and other communities are doing the same thing, so the kids in our community kind of have to depend upon us because people are taking care of their own communities, and that's what we need to do as well.
Thank you,
I
Ms.
agree
Gessler.
with
Mr.
that
Jones?
wholeheartedly. Out at Oak Ridge, we've shut everything down too.
Well, and, from all the information that we're getting, the senior community is obviously the one that needs to, to be more precautious than anybody. So that's good to hear that, and we've got a large senior population, so, we need to make sure that anything that can be done in order to help the seniors and help the people, the elderly people, obviously we don't want them out in areas where they could possibly be infected, because it impacts the seniors a lot more than others from what we're told and read. So.
And we do stick together out there, so that's helpful.
Again, we're in some unprecedented times. 2 weeks ago when we had Riverside here talking about the virus, I would have never imagined that we would be 2 weeks down the road and be under a national emergency and potential quarantines and businesses shut down. So we obviously had them here to give us a heads up on what to expect, but I don't think anybody expected the things that are currently happening in our area, in our state, and in our country. And who knows what the next 3 to 5 days or 3 to 5 weeks or even 3 to 5 months potentially could, what we could see. So, keep calm, take care of your families, take care of your neighbors, take care of our village to do the best we can. I say the police will be, and the first responders, the fire department are all on duty. However, they have to take precautions too, because we don't want them getting sick and not being able to respond to the things that happen. So, and keep in mind, even though we're all concentrating on the virus, other things still happen too. I mean, there's still ambulance calls for other incidences, and there's still traffic accidents, and there's still everything that happens in regular life is still going on. So there might be a delay sometimes in service. That's just potentially a fact of life over the course of the next several months. So hopefully get through it, and we'll all be here, down the road to talk about what happened in 2020. So, if there's nothing else, I'd accept a motion to adjourn. Motion by Boyce, second by Dole, roll call.
Boyce?
Yes.
Dole?
Yes.
Martin?
Yes.
Crockett?
Yes.
Geske?
Yes.
Phillips?
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you very much for coming and for watching.